Good afternoon, welcome back to Fujitsu Forum TV, where we continue to bring you live and exclusive coverage from Media Day ahead of Fujitsu Forum starting at 9 AM Central European Time tomorrow morning. I think we've already mentioned a few times, haven't we? We're expecting guests from more than 80 countries descending on Fujitsu Forum in Munich tomorrow. But if you're not one of those, we have you covered with Fujitsu Forum TV. Over the course of the next 2.5 days, you will be seeing 4 live keynotes, over 40 live interviews. Many of those are with the very people running the interactive breakout sessions here. We will also, tomorrow morning when we move into our purpose-built studio in the digital transformation zone, I promise we will get the cameras, the roaming cameras out and about so you can see the digital transformation zone too. Up next, we're speaking to one of our show sponsors, NetApp. They're coming to talk to us about storage for the future. There's a lot of change going on with technology, isn't there? Hybrid, the big explosion continues. I think we said in the segment earlier when we covered hybrid IT, by 2020, 90% of organizations will have a hybrid IT solution. Just staggering. The explosion of cloud computing continues to be a bit of a phenomenon, but what does all that mean for data? And does that mean that the traditional data center is dead? Well, with us to answer all of those questions and more, I'm delighted to say we're joined by Cristiano Albergio, Head of Technology for Fujitsu Global Alliance, Frank Reichart, Product Marketing at Fujitsu, and Marcel Schuster, Product Marketing for Storage at Fujitsu. Sorry, of course, you're NetApp. How dare I say Fujitsu? They'll be hanging me up and reprimanding me afterwards. The wonders of live TV. Right. Cristiano, let's come to you because I'm really interested to understand about this new landscape. We've got customer data being distributed in new areas. Edge computing has come about. We've got hybrid going through the roof. What does all that mean for our data, and how does NetApp address all those challenges for customers?
Yeah, I think the key word you've said it is distributed, right? And I think the role of the data center is definitely changing. I think what we're noticing is that data centers are evolving to more of what we look at as data fabrics, and customers are relying on having access to that data in any place, any time, on any device, which is requiring, access to compute and data resources across edge, core, and cloud. From a NetApp perspective, we're a data services company, and we're looking to essentially externalize all of the data services that our customers have come to enjoy over the last 20 years working with jointly with Fujitsu, to embed that in the traditional data center, but also externalize it in the world's biggest clouds, and also across intelligent edge devices. Ultimately, what we've been working on with Fujitsu over the last 20 years is building a huge customer repertoire. And what we want to focus on is try and essentially abstract the complexity of data management away from customers, so as they can focus on running the business.
Marcel, I know Cristiano referenced the link with Fujitsu, but working together 20 years, that's quite a period of time. How do we see that relationship continuing to grow and impact customers?
Well, I mean, the interesting factor, and you mentioned it just before, CJ, it's been 20 years that we're working throughout the various challenges that our customers with the various moments of IT have. And it's quite interesting to see that this relationship with NetApp continues for 2 decades. I mean, in times of IT, this is trillions of years, literally spoken. I mean, we've been seeing so much change over just the past couple of years, and I mean, since the hybrid IT discussion, gained speed and more pace, we're coming closer together to collaborate on this. And if you want a concrete example on how that works, I mean, NetApp is working absolutely perfect on the data fabric end with their ONTAP solutions. We brought this to our Fujitsu server primary systems to make sure that the technology which we put at the forefront of data center operations also interacts with any kind of cloud, any kind of hybrid environment. And I guess this is one of the key measures that you got to take upon when you consider those partnerships that we have.
I fear I'm going to sound like I'm belittling technology. People tell me it's as simple as getting some hardware and some software, rocking up, plugging it in. It's all simple, isn't it, Frank?
Well, having complete solutions consisting of technology from NetApp and Fujitsu makes things a lot of easier. But you're right, the solution needs to be adapted to the particular environment of the customer. But for this, we offer combined professional services to do the job. And then there's a question what happens afterwards once the solution is up and running. Components will be updated and we must ensure that it's still running. Yeah? For this, we offer complete lifecycle management. We make sure that the solution continues to work when a component is upgraded. So we offer services on a solution level, not just on the component level. Finally, the customer may need help to operate it. So we offer managed services, helping customer to do the job. And for customers who still need to build their skills for hybrid IT, we offer consulting and transformational services. And this in the combination with a solution, we hope to make the hybrid IT journey as smooth as possible.
Cristiano, I know you mentioned it briefly. We're collecting data for so many different areas distributed across the ecosystems. Internet of Things, that problem's only going to increase, right? We're going to be processing more data in different environments. What does that mean for NetApp?
Yeah, so I think we've already touched on one of the words, distributed, right? And I think the other two is our data is becoming increasingly diverse and increasingly dynamic, right? And so distributed, as we said, across edge, core, cloud. Diverse, if we think about the number of sensors out there, the amount of image data, the amount of video data that we're capturing from our devices, from cars, it's staggering. And as you said, a lot of this is driven by IoT and Industry 4.0. That's only going to get increasingly more demanding on our IT applications and operations. If we think of just think about autonomous driving for a second. You've got an industry there that essentially used to be, I guess, engine driven. And is becoming increasingly data-driven, right? All the sensors, all the image data that's being collected from the cars, that data needs to be processed, it needs to be compacted, it needs to be analyzed. And, a lot of the time we're finding that needs to be done, not just in the traditional data center, but also in these pockets of kind of hub IT capabilities. And that's where we're working very, well collaboratively with Fujitsu, leveraging our software-defined storage capabilities and Fujitsu's primary capabilities to deploy these kind of mini data centers at the edge to support, these IoT use cases.
So that brings us on nicely, Marcel. I mean, the local data storage is an important element within edge IT, isn't it? I mean, what else should we be considering?
Well, I mean, Cristiano put it, right? We're living in a data-driven world, and no matter where you look at, I mean, just on ourselves, we do have 5 smartphones with us. Every one of them is collecting constantly, I don't know how many parameters of data. It may be your heart rate, may it be your steps, whatever it is. All this, is being captured in so many different places compared to previous times, and this is really the biggest challenge. So therefore, I would even take that what you said before a step forward and really consider. Also, in combination with the initial question, do we actually need traditional data centers, or do we really have to think differently? And when you look at what we do all together in this environment, you can certainly see that the pace of data is literally the heartbeat of today's society, and therefore you got to think differently. Which turns out. Obviously, we don't get around traditional data center deployment for sure. There will always be servers, there will be storage systems, there will be some network components somewhere. The only question is it still some kind of dark building somewhere behind a corner, what you don't even imagine, or is it basically everywhere? And that is the interesting question, especially when it ties in with edge computing, where we at Fujitsu always investigated at an early stage in to bring together anything of OT, operational data, which is gathered by various sensors, cameras, machinery parameters, take it to any kind of market or segment. There's always a certain source for data, and in most of the cases, the analytics capabilities within data centers are even now already exploding. So therefore, it might make sense to place the one or the other calculation right somewhere at the edge to make it easier. And bringing together the solutions like our IntelliEdge device, which, well, in very basic terms, translates the protocols that you usually see for OT into protocols that are understandable by IT, that enables us to really gather insights and business value out of all this data that is being generated.
I think that's the interesting point there, Frank. So you've brilliantly underpinned this sheer volume of data. To get the business value, we've got to be able to analyse it. Are we going to be able to analyse it fast enough to unlock that business value?
Well, actually, the traditional methods for doing analysis will probably fail when every dumb object is getting smart. Yeah, all these smarties will produce so many data. You need new algorithms, and you need artificial intelligence and deep learning to understand the patterns of this data. Yeah? The thing and the infrastructure is, or the challenge is, that the classical compute systems don't fit anymore. They are normally driven by general purpose CPUs and graphical processing unit called GPUs, but they are not specialized enough for deep learning and artificial intelligence. So they provide a lot of overhead, making it extremely expensive to deploy them. And this is why Fujitsu is creating own chipsets exactly for algorithms for deep learning, making it much more efficient to process all the patterns these smarties provide into the data center or wherever they are located.
We'll give you the final comment, Cristiano, where it's a NetApp segment. Artificial intelligence is obviously going to be utilised more. What does this mean for NetApp and storage?
Yeah, so I think I'd echo Frank's comments there. AI poses some huge challenges, right, for especially when it comes to traditional infrastructures. There's kind of two things. First of all, you're relying on a pace of execution there that needs to keep up with the analytics that you want to deliver back to your business. So latency and I/O requirements skyrocket when it comes to your IT environments. Secondly, you need to make sure that you have access to the data at the right place, right time, on the right device. So from a NetApp perspective, how we underpin Fujitsu's capabilities here is with technologies like NVMe, our latest enterprise storage arrays. NVMe essentially reduces latency by over 50% just by enabling NVMe features. It increases I/O by over 3x. So instantly, you've got a game-changing technology there that radically repositions itself to support AI workflows. And secondly, and kind of finally, back to this data fabric concept, you need to get the data to your AI clusters, right? So this is where we see customers requiring this edge to core to cloud data pipeline, where you collect sensor data at the edge, you process it in the core, and potentially you archive it to the cloud. And NetApp and Fujitsu together are working to deliver this kind of seamless capability where we allow that data movement across those environments.
Absolutely fascinating. I am going to have to cut it short. They're telling me we're out of time, but I bet there's a ton of questions you've got on this one. Edge to core to cloud, it's a topic we think is going to dominate Fujitsu Forum 2019. If you've got questions for any of our panel today, you can use hashtag Fujitsu Forum TV. Drop us a note. We will connect you with the individuals. You can carry on the conversation. And we are going to carry on at pace the conversation here on Fujitsu Forum TV too. Up next, we're talking SAP. A lot of solutions in play at the moment. There's a 2025 deadline you need to know about. We'll be revealing all in our next segment. What time is it? Oh, about 15, 16 minutes. We'll be back with that one, 2:30 Munich time. So if you're watching from the UK, obviously it'll be 1:30, won't it? God, didn't really need to say that. Stick with us. Plenty more insight coming from Fujitsu Forum TV. Lots more happening on Media Day. Stay with us.